On the morning of April 13th, 1612, a boat pushed off from the shore toward a small, flat island called Funajima. In it sat a man who was about to fight for his life, and he was carving a sword out of a boat oar. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. Waiting for him on the island was Sasaki Kojiro, the finest swordsman in the country, younger and better trained, a man whose blade was so long and so fast that watching men swore they never saw the cut, only its result. By every measure you can write down before a fight, Kojiro was the better swordsman. He had arrived on time, he had arrived rested, he stood on the sand with his famous steel drawn, and he waited. And he waited. Musashi did not come at the appointed hour. He did not come the hour after that. As the sun climbed and Kojiro stood there in his readiness, his composure curdling into irritation, then anger, then something closer to humiliation, Musashi sat in a boat offshore, unhurried, shaving a wooden oar into the rough shape of a sword he made slightly longer than the steel he knew Kojiro carried. When he finally stepped onto the sand, hours late, holding a piece of a boat, the greatest swordsman in the land was already beaten. He was furious. He was rattled. He drew and struck with everything he had, and Musashi, calm, cracked his skull with a piece of wood and walked back to the boat. One blow. That is the fight everyone remembers. But the fight was over before Musashi's foot touched the sand. Kojiro lost the moment he agreed to fight a man who was choosing the time, the weapon, and the temperature of his own blood. The visible duel was not a contest, it was a collection. I am not telling you this to teach you about a duel. I do not care about the sword, and neither should you. I am telling you because the exact thing Musashi did to Kojiro on that sand is being done to men every day in rooms that hold no blades at all, and most of them never find out it happened. This is the secret of every man who cannot be beaten. He does not win the fight. He wins before the fight, in the work no one is watching, and by the time you see two men face each other, the outcome has already been decided, and only one of them knows it. You have been taught the opposite. You have been taught that the fight is won in the fight, that when the moment comes, the confrontation, the interview, the standoff with the man who wants what you have, you will find something in yourself and rise to the occasion. That courage and skill, summoned in the instant they are needed, are what carry the day. This is the most comforting lie a weak man ever told himself, and it is why he stays weak. Here is what rising to the occasion actually means. It means you did not prepare, and now you are praying that raw nerve will cover the gap. You have watched it happen. You have seen a man walk into the meeting that would decide his standing, certain his charm and quick mind would carry him, and watched him taken apart by someone quieter who had simply done the work. You have felt it yourself. In the argument, you lost not because you were wrong, but because the other man had been thinking about it for a week, and you were thinking about it for the first time as your mouth was moving. That is not a character flaw. That is arithmetic. He prepared, and you improvised, and preparation beats improvisation every single time it is tested. The strategist knows this in his bones. He knows that if the outcome is still in question at the moment of contact, he has already failed. The amateur trains for the clash. The dangerous man makes sure there is nothing left to clash over. So when I tell you that Musashi never fought an enemy he had not already beaten in his mind, understand exactly what I am not saying. I am not telling you to picture your victory. I am not telling you to feel confident, to visualize the win, to walk in radiating belief. That is the fantasy sold to men who will never win anything, because it asks for nothing but a feeling, and feelings are free, and things that are free are worthless in a fight. A man can feel unshakable walking into the room and still leave it destroyed, because the other man did not agree to be impressed by his feelings. To beat a man in your mind is not to imagine defeating him. It is to have already run the entire encounter to its conclusion using the real man, his real habits, his real weaknesses, the real ground you will both stand on, until the version that happens in the world is simply the version you already finished in private, played once more for witnesses.
Sun Tzu wrote the same law 2,000 years before that boat crossing. The victorious warrior wins first and then goes to war. The defeated warrior goes to war first and then seeks to win. The defeated man is not less brave and not less skilled. He is doing his winning in the wrong order, hoping to find victory inside the fight, when victory was only ever available before it. So how do you beat a man before either of you moves? There are 4 parts, and none of them are gentle. If they make you uncomfortable, that discomfort is the sound of a man discovering he's been fighting fair his whole life and calling it honor. First, you read him completely. Musashi taught his students to become the enemy, not to sympathize with him, but to inhabit him, to sit inside his skin until you know what he fears, what he wants, what he reaches for when he is frightened. Now put down the sword and see what that is in your life. Before the negotiation, you find out what the other man actually wants and what he is most afraid to lose. You learn who he answers to, what number he cannot go below, what he will pretend not to care about precisely because he wants it most. You watch how he behaves under small pressure, long before you ever apply large pressure. You talk to the people around him. Most men walk in having prepared only their own argument. You walk in having prepared his opening, his objection, his bluff, with the answer to each one built in advance. By the time you sit down, you are not meeting him. You are meeting a man you have already fought a dozen times in private, and he is meeting you for the first time. That is not a fair fight, and it was never supposed to be. And understand what most men get wrong about this. They think reading a man means being clever in the moment, catching a tell across the table, thinking fast on their feet. That is the amateur's version, and it fails, because in the moment you are under pressure, and your judgment is under the same pressure as the rest of you. Real reading happens cold, in advance, when you have all the time in the world and none of the fear. The man who tries to read his opponent live has already lost to the man who read him last week. Second, you control the terms and the ground. You never fight fair. This is where the honorable man loses, and loses proudly. He believes there is virtue in equal footing, same weapons, same conditions. May the better man win. His fairness is not honor. It is laziness dressed as principle. Because choosing the ground is work, and he would rather feel righteous than do it. The dangerous man chooses everything. When the fight happens, where, on what terms? Musashi carved a longer sword because reach wins, and there is no prize for the shorter blade. In your life, this means you never let the other man pick the ground. The hard conversation happens when you are ready, not when he ambushes you in the hallway to catch you flat. You choose the setting that strips his advantages, in writing, where he cannot perform and charm a room, or face-to-face, where he cannot hide behind a screen. Whichever one costs him more. You raise the issue when you hold the leverage, not when it happens to be even. When a man challenges you on his own timing to prove you are not afraid of him, the amateur answers at once, because his pride cannot survive the weight. You make him wait.
You move it to ground where nothing he is good at will help him. When a rival tries to force a decision in a crowded room where he has allies and you have none, you do not fight it there to look brave. You let it stall, and you settle it later in the room you chose, with the people you chose, on the day you were ready. He believes he lost the argument. The truth is, he never got to have it. And you never announce that you are choosing the ground, because the moment he sees the frame, he can begin to fight it. He should only ever feel that events unfolded on their own, that the timing was chance, that the setting was convenience. The terms are the fight, and the man who set them has already won it, so long as no one ever notices they were set. Third, you break his rhythm before contact. Every man has a tempo he needs in order to be at his best, and the great error is letting him keep it. Musashi did not attack Kojiro's sword. He attacked Kojiro's composure, hours before the first strike, until the finest swordsman in the land was fighting as a rattled, insulted man instead of a master. You do the same with no weapon at all, the silence where he expected you to react. So you deny him the response he provoked you for and leave him holding a move that did nothing. The disrespect you receive without a flicker, so he learns his best weapon does not work on you and has to go looking for a new one in the middle of the fight. The fact you let slip early that you know something he did not know you knew, so he spends the whole meeting recalculating instead of running the plan he walked in with. You arrive already knowing his opening line, so it lands on nothing. And by the second minute, he is improvising. And an improvising man is a weaker man than one executing a plan. You do not wait for him to be at his strongest and then try to be stronger. You take his strength off the table before he can put it into play. Fourth, the settled mind. Only now do we reach the calm, the doubt-free stillness of a man walking into a fight he already knows is won. And here is the truth they will never sell you, because there is no money in it. That calm is not a technique. You cannot conjure it, cannot breathe your way into it, cannot affirm it into being on the morning of the fight. It is the residue of the first three. It is what is left in a man who has read his enemy, chosen his ground, and broken his rhythm, because there is genuinely nothing left to be afraid of. The fear other men feel in the moment of contact is not weakness of character. It is information. It is unpreparedness surfacing at the worst possible time. The body reporting the truth the man spent weeks avoiding. The reason you do not flinch when he raises his voice, do not fold when he leans on you, do not need the deal badly enough to be moved off your position, is not that you were born with iron nerve. It is that you did the work in the days no one watched. This is why two men can walk into the same room carrying the same fear, and one is undone by it, while the other barely feels it move. It is not that one of them was born without fear. It is that one man's fear has nowhere to go, because every door it could have opened, he already closed in the days before. Men will see you stay calm under pressure and call you fearless. You are not fearless. You are finished. The fight was over before you walked in, and you are the only one in the room who knows it. And the other man? He walks in warm and unprepared, trusting that he will read the room as it unfolds and improvise something brilliant. He meets every conflict on equal footing and calls his own laziness integrity. He is gifted and on time and completely certain of himself, and he is already beaten by a man who decided this days ago and simply came to collect. He will lose to you and never learn your name for what beat him, because the work that decided it left no marks he could ever see. He will tell himself he had an off day. He did not have an off day. He had an opponent who quietly refused to fight the fight he showed up for. Do not be that man. Do your winning first, in the reading and the choosing and the breaking that no one watching will ever see, and let the moment everyone can see be nothing more than the place you go to collect what is already yours. The fight you can see is never the fight that decides anything. By the time the world is watching two men face each other, one of them has already won, quietly, invisibly, days ago. Make sure it is you.